Welcome to Epstein Becker Green's Employment Law This Week podcast. I'm George Whipple. Last Monday, President Trump began his second term. On his first day back in office, the president signed about 200 executive actions, memos, and proclamations. This smashes records for executive actions among past presidents. To help clients parse this flurry of activity, we called on my partner at Epstein Becker Green, Paul DeCamp. His decades representing clients in this space, combined with his experience as wage and hour administrator in a previous administration, gives him a unique perspective. We asked Paul to give us some context around the pace of change.
In the first Trump administration, it took them about 2 years, if not a little bit longer, to start making any meaningful change with respect to issues relevant to employers. We're already seeing on day one and day two and the opening days of the administration, very significant changes that are going to affect the workplace. That's unlike the first Trump administration, and it's unlike other administrations as well.
The executive actions extend beyond reversing Biden-era policies. In his first full day in office, President Trump repealed Executive Order 11246, issued by President Lyndon Johnson in 1965.
The presidential executive order issued on the first full day of the administration really realigns the way that the federal government and all of its agencies approach DEI, essentially looking to root out DEI not only within the federal government, but going forward, also in other aspects of the federal sector and the private sector. So not only do we see a termination of DEI efforts throughout the federal government, we also see the end to affirmative action programs and affirmative action requirements for government contractors. But then more broadly, we see the agencies tasked with looking for ways to root out DEI efforts in other aspects of the private sector. It's very sweeping.
In this environment of rapid change, it can be difficult for companies to respond. We asked Paul what employers should focus on.
I think in the short term, at least, being aware and very cognizant of the fact that for the new administration, there is a heavy focus on addressing illegal immigration as well as DEI issues. And because of that, the enforcement agencies are going to be very focused on those initiatives, and that will lead to consequences in the workplace with regard to agencies conducting investigations, possible lawsuits, possible private actions as well. And because of that, and because the workforce is dealing with these issues as well, I think employers need to be mindful of the stress that their workforce is going to be under.
Thanks, Paul. While we know executive actions are top of mind for many employers, there are more pressing concerns in Southern California. The wildfires there have destroyed communities and displaced countless individuals. While the nation's first responders are working tirelessly to contain the devastation, many employers are grappling with how best to provide support for their affected employees. Epstein Becker Green has compiled resources, strategies, and ideas for employers in the state at ebglaw.com. And before we go, we're pleased to announce Epstein Becker Green's landmark recognition as a Law 360 2024 Employment Practice Group of the Year. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
This podcast is presented by Epstein Becker Green, PC. All rights are reserved. This audio recording includes information about legal issues and legal developments. Such materials are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the most current legal developments. These informational materials are not intended and should not be taken as legal advice on any particular set of facts or circumstances, and these materials are not a substitute for the advice of competent counsel. The content reflects the personal views and opinions of the participants. No attorney-client relationship has been created by this audio recording. This audio recording may be considered attorney advertising in some jurisdictions under the applicable law and ethical rules. The determination of the need for legal services and the choice of a lawyer are extremely important decisions and should not be based solely upon advertisements or self-proclaimed expertise. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.